Hello.
Hello, everyone.
We are live, and there's always a bit of a delay at the beginning because it says live, but I always wait for just a quick second just to make sure that it's actually live before we start chatting.
Oh, is anybody there?
I know it's like freeze frame. Thank you all for watching
Yes.
this week. I've lost track of how many we're at. I think it's 9 or 10.
9 or 10, yep.
And super excited. I say that every frigging week. I'm excited to have our guest here today.
You're allowed to be excited, Sam.
I know, especially right now where it takes we don't have a lot to get excited about. So this week I'm excited again to have our guest here. We have Cheyenne Gloade, and I have just met. We literally just met right before this live chat. And so I'm excited to get to chat with her a little bit more. So let's bring her on. Hello, Cheyenne.
Hi, Cheyenne.
Hi, everybody.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
We were just saying Sam's having a bad hair day. I'm very shiny, but we're good. You look fabulous.
Yeah, it's the little things. Thank you so much for joining us. And I know it can be like, especially because we've not met before, it can be a little intimidating to be like, hey, come chat with us for 40 minutes or so. But we're so glad that you did. And we just want to have a conversation with you about who you are, what it is that you do, and if anyone on the call or on who's watching has any questions, they can ask as well. But I actually have a question first because I like to dominate the conversation myself. Cheyenne, I loved your clothing company before I knew that you owned the clothing company. So I had actually been chatting with Ellen Marshall about you. She told me that you were one of the co-owners, and I'm not going to pronounce the name, I'm going to let you do that, but of your clothing company. And I was so excited to chat with you once I found out. So tell us a bit about your clothing company.
Yeah.
Sure. Well, first off, thank you for inviting me. It definitely was a bit intimidating, but I'm glad I came. It was great, to meet you guys virtually. So yeah, I have a partner. Both of my friend and I started this clothing company in the fall, October of 2019, and we kind of got together because we're both artists. We're both, Indigenous women, and we decided to kind of create a brand for ourselves. And we started with huge intentions, but on a smaller scale of apparel. So our clothing company is called Olnug Clothing Co. And Olnug is a Mi'kmaq word meaning, the people. So yeah, we decided we wanted to have that as our, as our logo, our name, and what we stand by as, Indigenous Mi'kmaq people from this territory. And that's how we kind of, we started. We both complement each other. We both have the same skill sets. We're both young Indigenous women that are artists as well. We created our own names for ourselves, and we decided to combine forces.
That's so cool. And so do you guys design, how does it work in terms of who does what behind the company? Do you both do some of the design work, or do you kind of tag each other in and out?
So we both have amazing skill sets in terms of, Indigenous art, like beadwork and sewing and things like that. And before our company, we were both, power dancers in our own style, as well as artists creating things and being entrepreneurs. And when we came together, we shared a lot of those, experiences and a lot of those talents and skills, but we definitely have different skill sets in terms of, my partner. She's amazing at, marketing, branding, the internet stuff, and I'm not so great at that, but I'm very kind of go out there and speak to people and have those communication skills and those, those I guess, on-site kind of promotion, as well as having both built a network of our own. So originally I'm from Listigouche, Quebec, which is about 5 hours north of here. And prior to that, I lived in Ottawa and different places. So my network and her network combined was just, we were thinking, why didn't we do this sooner? We should have combined forces. So we started off with the brand, and we released apparel with our logos. We did little promotion videos, photo shoots, and although I can kind of skim the surface, there's so much more detail to what we're doing than meets the eye kind of thing, and where we want to go with everything.
That's the thing. It's always so hard to pinpoint exactly what direction you're going to go in. Once you start brainstorming ideas, you have so many possibilities that you can go with. And I think it, like you said, it helps to have a partner who complements your skills. So where you're maybe not as strong, she can step in and pick up those things that need to be done as well. That's awesome. Is she from here?
Yeah, so she's originally from Millbrook, Nova Scotia, so which is great, locally from here. And we've been friends prior to me coming to live out here and meeting my husband. I actually knew her for a very long time, so we had a really great foundation of a friendship already, and all of the other things I mentioned in terms of establishing our own name as artists and designers.
It's so cool. And I'm looking behind you.
Yeah, that's why I keep looking behind you.
I was going to ask you before we went live, and then I was like, I'm going to wait and ask her when we're live, is what you have on display behind you. Is that something that you have designed yourself?
So I made the skirt. The skirt's called a ribbon skirt. It's kind of like an Indigenous, I guess it's just a little bit of a ceremonial thing as well. It's and it's really great that a lot of young Indigenous women are representing themselves by wearing those very often to large events, not only ceremonial uses. So it's a really great way to represent, ourselves and stuff. So I created, as well as the necklace on there. The bandolier bag I had purchased from another artist in Ontario, I believe. So. But I kind of keep that all on display because they're some of the pieces that I really love. And underneath is just a regular tank top that I kind of paired.
Sam and I are both fans of the statement necklace. So when I look at that necklace, I'm like, oh my goodness, it's beautiful. And that's all beadwork, I assume.
Yeah.
Wow. How much time would something like that take you, Cheyenne, to create? Like not the coming up with the idea, but the actual physical making of it.
Well, it's surprising. The idea and the creativity in designing it is actually the part that's the longest.
Yeah.
Is the drawing of it and, coming up with the concept and choosing the colors. I think people underestimate that part of the creative process a lot. So that takes quite a bit of time. And then because I've been doing beadwork for, I want to say I'm 30 now, so maybe 15 plus years I've been doing beadwork. So for where I'm at now with my craft, it's it might be shocking to someone like, oh, that's not that long. However, it has taken me, years of practice to get where I am. And it takes anywhere from maybe 8 solid hours of work, sometimes 12, to construct that from bottom to top. But other beaders who have started maybe not as, at a later time in their life may say, this would take me a week, like I'm not there yet. So it all kind of varies. But for me, I think that piece particularly took 8 hours or less. I really wanted it done, and I had an idea, and I just kind of executed it as quickly as possible.
And every piece is so unique too. That's what I think is so interesting. Like you're not going to find 2 necklaces that are exactly the same, which I just think is awesome.
Yeah.
And by the way, if you're 30, saying you could have done anything for 15 years is a that's amazing. It's so cool.
Thank you. I never thought of it that way.
Right?
Half your life. It's a lot of experience though that you you can bring to what you love doing, which is, all you can really ask for as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, absolutely. So what kinds of things within your skill set, so within the beading, and do you also have bags and necklaces and accessories and things that you offer through your clothing line as well?
So I guess I can just chat quickly about what I do and then kind of how it, I guess, ties into the business.
Yeah.
So I started at a young age, learning beadwork. My father actually was a really great beader, and he's taught me some things. I've also learned from a lot of people along the way. And where I'm from, we actually are so fortunate to have what we call a culture class in our school. So I got to grow up exposed to, all the different crafts that, especially pertaining to Mi'kmaq culture, such as basketry, pole work, things like that. So at an early age, I had access to all of this and kind of had already developed, a love for it, and really knew that was something I wanted to do. And then as time went on, I did a lot of things for myself because I'm a dancer myself, and I would just kind of mess around with things, and I never thought of the idea of ever selling anything because it was learning, making for myself. And then I would give things away because they probably weren't at the standard to sell or anything like that, and that never really crossed my mind because beadwork today, a lot of people are using that tool as an entrepreneur tool, as a way to, create revenue for themselves or create a small business. However, it is a very traditional, culturally tied thing to our people as well. So there's a lot of spiritual aspect behind the concept of beading. So the first time I sold anything, I was probably about maybe 16, 15. And at this time, that's when social media was starting to ramp up, and people were putting pictures out and things like that. So I would make earrings, and I would take a picture, or somebody would spot me wearing them, and they'd be like, "Oh my gosh, who made those?" Like, where did you get them? And I would say I made them, and they would say, "Well, can I buy some off of you?" And I'm like, okay. And I started really humble in terms of what my father had taught me. He said, the first thing you make, you should give away, and until you get to a certain stage with your craft, start small. So I would sell things for like $5 or $10. And although it was very tedious work and things like that, I kind of built to, where I am today. And what I do now, the things I've done, I did go to school for my craft. I went to the New Brunswick College of Craft and Design and Fashion. So I really took it seriously in terms of what I wanted to do with my business and my craft. I learned, the marketing entrepreneur side of things, the art side of things. I was trained in the fundamentals of art. So I knew that would be something very valuable to me if I wanted to really do this, I guess I want to say full time, or, so I did all of that, and I took place on things I've never done before, such as like beading on clothing and creating, papers and I wouldn't know how to say this. They call them tombstones, and like how to represent your art. So like what is the meaning of it, the story you tell. So when I went to school, it really helped me develop that side of, art, and not just create something. I had my own personal meaning and put my own energy into it, but I never really told a story about it. I was just kind of selling,
Yeah.
And so then I started to get custom orders. People would request things from me like, "Oh, could you make this? Could you make that?" And I would produce and I would sell. I'd also, in between these orders, I'd create what's in my mind, like what I want to create. And then I'd post that up, and I barely ever posted for sale or prices. I just had an inflood of people right away, like, how much are you selling this? Like, and I would say, well, it's on, somebody wants it right now. Well, I'll pay double. And I was like, oh my God, like, I think I'm onto something here. So I went from doing that, and then through art school, it really, like, again, it vamped up things, and I started to really find out who I was as an artist and a designer. And so I would make a lot of things and post them from my creative mind, and that's where I got, I think, the most attention. When people request orders, it's very difficult because you have to kind of, put your mind in, or put your eyes where their eyes are, or what they want. And so that's been difficult and tricky, but I always manage to get a really great response to, producing something for somebody and what they want. But I think the best is when I create something and put it out there. So from there, I went into higher things when I did come out into Nova Scotia after I was trained and graduated, and I came out here. I met my husband, and I started to do, slowly get into network. And I did have a few of the Nova Scotia chiefs approach me to make headdresses and different things like that, garments. So it was really powerful for me to be asked to say, like, hey, like, I trust you. Could you create this for me? And I was like, I don't know if I could do that.
Definitely nerve-wracking, that's for sure.
Yeah, but I started to do bigger pieces, and bigger pieces, longer hours, and in turn more dollars. I was asking for these unique pieces, and so as of today, I think I've done 5 out of the 13 chiefs, so that's been really a huge accomplishment. Yeah, and then I did many other things like regalias, which are sewn garments, just different kind of like business attire things with, it's really nice for especially Mi'kmaq people who are are doing different things in the workforces to be able to go to a conference and really like represent themselves in a small way, or maybe a big way. And so from there, when we started our company, we started with bringing the brand to the forefront with just apparel clothing for right now. And our direction is we want to release a couture line, which is handmade garments, and eventually bring that to the runway and really go for it as designers, right? So that's our goal. And we thought this was the best route, is to release the brand, get the names out there, get the kind of, the thing flowing, and then our first collection was to be launched spring and summer of 2020, and COVID, we were not able to do that. So.
Yeah. But it sounds like you have big plans, that's really exciting to know that that's going on in our community, and you're working away at this, really amazing goals. It's exciting. I'm excited for you.
Thank you.
I just love any kind of artistic, especially collaboration, I guess, because I find, like you were saying, when you're creating something for somebody else as opposed to your own custom piece, if you're working with a partner, you get to put both of your creative concepts or ideas together to come up with an end result. Like, I just find that I'm certainly not a creative person in that way, but I love when people are able to kind of put their minds together and come up with something unique like that.
Yeah, that was definitely something we see value in as, again, young Mi'kmaq women, Indigenous, women. There's a lot of things that I guess have been barriers for Indigenous people, but also for women in general. It doesn't matter, what race or where you're from. Being a woman in business is difficult. So we wanted to, I guess, display that for, the youth, and tell them that, if you and your friend are really great at something, team up and lift each other up and go for what it is you want to do. And, sometimes, two minds are better than one. Both of us were kind of doing the same thing, going at our own pace, but it's like the magnitude of us coming together was like, the speed was even like, 100 times, faster than if everybody, alone. So it was a really great, thing that we came together. Are there challenges? Were there challenges? Will there be challenges? Absolutely. But we have respect for each other, and we know how to move forward in any situation, big or small. So that's another thing that, throughout this, I've been asked to speak a few times to young people, or, I was a speaker at a conference for Indigenous youth in business. And so those are things that I make sure that, I say, so that they don't think it's all rainbows and sunshine. But, the hard stuff is what, gets you through and gets you to be, to work harder and be more creative in the end. So that was really important to us.
And it's so important to have those real conversations with youth, because I mean, it's not in any way to scare people off. It's just to give them that insight, that reality check, I guess, as to if this is something you want to pursue, then, this is what you have to consider.
Yeah.
All of what you have to consider.
Yeah.
And even as an option, when I was, way back when I was in high school, entrepreneurship wasn't really something that was considered an option unless it was already in your family. Like if your dad owned a business, maybe you might, go into business, or you grow up with it. And even like say 10 years ago, I would have said, I'm not going to own my own business. I'm always going to have the security of working for somebody else. But then, there are so many rewards to it. Like you said, there's so many challenges, but it makes the rewards a little sweeter when you have to fight to get to them. So Sam and I both totally know where you're coming from.
And so you have been involved in the powwows in Millbrook in the past, and that is from, maybe you can give us a little bit of perspective, because I'm coming from the youth perspective still, Cheyenne, because I know you've been involved with performing in powwows in the past, but also in relationship or coaching youth. Is that accurate?
Well, yes and no. So
you can say no, it's all good.
Yeah, well, I guess I can kind of touch base on what I mean. So aside from, having our brand new business, I do still work with the Millbrook youth at the youth center here. Yeah. So I work part-time on the weekends, as well as juggle many other things. And so I've always had that relationship and always had that mindset of, if you're in a community, this isn't my home community, but it's my community right now, to kind of give back. And the best way I knew how is to, support the youth and be there for the youth, as I had people be there for me when I was younger. So I went to a youth center as well in my community and had some great people there influence me in a really positive way. So that was something I always wanted to do. And being there, I was able to make some really great relationships with the youth from here, and I guess teach them cultural things like beading and things like that, as well as support them. Some of them are dancers as well, so really encourage them and kind of help them with, if there's things they don't know how to do, in terms of maybe they don't know how to make a dress or the proper, regalia for what they want to do. So I would kind of, either point them in the right direction or help them, or, maybe suggest workshop to the community on maybe, they need a beadwork workshop or something like that. Mm-hmm. So I kind of was with them in that sense. And then there's a few of the young ladies who attended my dance classes that the community of Millbrook hired me to do for a number of weeks, to kind of get them in shape and ready for powwow season. And those young girls who have never danced before, or maybe didn't have that in their family, or wasn't something they've done all their lives, were introduced to it and carried on with it. So it was really great to be able to have that bit of influence here and you know, I always check in and like, you know, encourage them to advance and get better. And this year's been really challenging. It's been a different summer for sure for a lot of us. And
well, there's no live powwows to prepare for. There's no there's no, oh well, that'll just happen a couple months later. We don't even know that, right? So it's such a challenge for events in general and just, you know, gatherings in general.
social interaction.
Yeah, right. It's like life is just that now.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So we talked about your beading and your experience with crafts and things. What got you into dancing?
Well, I actually grew up dancing. My father was a champion dancer. Actually, he's a grouse dancer. So he started at a later age in his life. I think he was around 20 some years old when he started. He was kind of exposed to it. He lived in Ottawa, Ontario. So there was a number of different Indigenous people out there, and they all kind of. So I guess before I carry on, for those of you that don't know what a powwow is. It's a gathering of all nations across, you know, I guess Canada, the country, and United States, and they kind of travel together and celebrate, you know, from a cultural perspective of these styles of dances. And there's various different styles, and there's particular styles for men and women, and you know, you kind of can choose, and you know, you feel what's right to you. Some of them are very very difficult dances to do, especially if you're not tip-top shape. And then there's some a little bit more down, you know, I guess less, you know, intense. Well, you know, you can kind of what you gravitate towards, and then you kind of just, you know, celebrate. You go out there and you represent yourself. And a lot of these dances are not may not be specifically culturally born to your, you know, your Indigenous, you know, heritage, but we borrow these dances from each other, and we kind of, our tribes, I should say, we borrow them and we respect them in the same way. And you can kind of, I guess, in terms of regalia and style, you can kind of put your own Indigenous flair, tribal flair on it. So I'm Mi'kmaq. When I create my regalias, I always represent, you know, my Mi'kmaq heritage in some way. And so if I go to huge gatherings, sometimes people will be like, oh, like, where are you from? Or, you know, I've never seen maybe that symbol before, things like that. So it's really cool in that sense. And at the end of the day, it's just a really big celebration with some ceremonial aspects within it. And, you know, everybody's welcome, all, you know, all races, everybody is welcome to come and participate, to watch. And I think the best part about it, and it's hard to explain to people who've never been or have never seen one, it's really about the feeling you get when you watch the dancers out there.
I'm just going to cut you off just for a second, because I've gone to the powwow in Millbrook, I'm going to say probably only 3 times, and I get incredibly emotional. Like, for me, watching the singing and the dancing, like, there's just something that I can't even explain why that is, but I find it an extremely emotional experience. It's amazing.
Yeah, so that's kind of why, you know, that's a little bit of the core reasons why we do that. Also, there's a lot of honoring that goes on in there. So there's a lot of acknowledging people and acknowledging, you know, kind of a little bit of everybody, you know, animals, the earth, things like that, as well as, you know, the dance I do is the jingle dress dance, and with that there's a very huge responsibility, and we're asked to pray for people out there, and that's what the dress is. It's for healing. So you know, sometimes when you go to a gathering or a powwow, you're just like, oh my God, so beautiful, wow. But what's really going on for some of it is, you know, these honoring songs, these traditional components to it, and a lot of prayers and a lot of you know, energy is being carried through these dancers. And you know, it's all about healing and resiliency, and you know, kind of just saying, as Indigenous people, we're still here and we're still celebrating life. And so, you're welcome to join us, and you're welcome to feel that really great energy. So that's really what it's about. And I do it because I've, again, been introduced to it since I could walk, and it's just a part of who I am. And I've never stopped doing it. There's seasons where I might take a break. When I was a teenager, I was like, I'm not really into this right now. But then I would always come back to it because it's a part of who I am. So, not everybody who's Indigenous does this, and they don't have to. But I think for me, it's about all of those things I just explained, but really just being able to celebrate who I am, express myself. And it has given me a lot of confidence in my life and has helped me, be who I am today, and push me into any uncomfortable places that that I may be afraid to, represent who I am. So I think that for me is why I do it.
That's so great. And I'm interested to hear sort of the inspiration behind the jingle dancing, because I've seen lots of performances, but I have not necessarily understood the kind of motivation behind it, I guess, which is really interesting.
Yeah. So it originated in the Ojibwe tribe, which is Northern Ontario. And there is a story behind it, much like, many things. There was a very young girl who was sick, and there's a couple of renditions of the story, but I guess the one I'll tell is that her grandfather had a dream or a vision of this dress that sounded like, kind of like rain. So he had reached out to some women in the community at the time while his granddaughter was really, really sick, and said, can you help me, create this dress? So they did. And the story is that he put it on the girl when it was complete, and he, there was some music, there was some drumming going on, and so she went around, kind of like in our gatherings, there's a circle. She walked around the circle for the first time, and that time she couldn't walk. She was actually assisted. The second time she was kind of walking on her own with some help. The third time she was able to walk, and the fourth time she was able to dance. So because of his vision and his dream, he was able to, help this young lady heal. And so from that moment forward, the jingle dress has been honored, as well as, the story behind it and the reason why, these, young Indigenous women are dancing in these dresses, and it's for healing. And a lot of times during the powwows, there'll be certain, like, for most of it, there's just a lot of fun and dancing, and everybody gets.
Oh, we lost her.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Oh no.
I was so enthralled in that story. Just hang on. We'll go back.
Well, we'll do.
What's that?
I said we'll do a little entertaining.
I know.
Oh no.
She's coming back.
Okay.
It's so fascinating. And it's interesting because we had, for the local love awards that were meant to happen in May, we had once again lined up the Iron Tide dancer, or the Iron Tide singers, to perform. And we also had Patience Syllaboy lined up to dance, and she was going to do a dance with them, drumming in the background.
I'm still looking forward to that.
Oh, she's trying to log back in.
I'll take this opportunity too to plug the local love. Sorry, I just jumped because the UPS guy's at the door. To plug the local love Truro award nominations, which close tomorrow night, like midnight-ish, and we have had 300 nominations so far.
Woohoo!
Yeah, so I haven't really looked that closely at them. I'm looking forward to doing my nerdy thing on the weekend and calculating who the top 5 nominees are in each category. And then we'll be open for voting on Monday. So take a peek at our Facebook page. Sam will post it everywhere. And the voting will be open until the 31st, we said? Yeah, the 31st. So I'm like looking at my calendar, like you guys know it's there, but
It's so cool. And just going back to what was meant to be in May, hopefully at some point we'll be able to recreate that that show in the future. And it was actually Cheyenne's husband, Garrett, who was helping us to organize that. And he was, I want to say he leads the Irontide Singers, but I'm not sure if that's the right term or not. But yeah, I was so looking forward to that. And I was so enthralled in Cheyenne's story. And I'm very disappointed that she got somehow stream. We're going to a couple more minutes to try to log back on.
It's such a, so interesting and beautiful.
It's always interesting to find, like, to hear the background, especially cultural background. Like, anybody can sit and watch a performance and really appreciate, especially for me, the drumming. I could listen to drumming for, I think, 8 hours straight. And once you work in the dancing and the singing and all of that as well, but to actually know the history behind it, I think is something that I don't spend a lot of time getting to know, and I think it's so important that we do that.
It really is. It really is.
So who did you vote for, Michelle?
I haven't done a nomination form yet. I have to remain impartial.
Yeah, I did one. I don't care about my name. I'm not going to tell anybody who I nominated, but I did.
No, I haven't. I don't think I've ever done one. Have we done this? This is our 4th time.
Really?
I don't actually filled out a nomination. No, I think I voted, but I find there's so much, like, favorite business. I don't know.
It is hard to narrow down, for sure.
It really is. It's tough. So people who actually, do nominations, thank you. I appreciate you.
I think for me, it's that I do it without giving it too much thought. So if you kind of think about it like the first business that comes to mind in terms of where you always think of to go or whatever, if you don't kind of overthink it, I think it's a lot easier to fill it out.
Yeah.
Especially something like Truro Famous Award. Like there's so many people that you could potentially choose from. So if you just kind of first knee-jerk reaction, I think is probably
and it's always nice too to see, sometimes we'll see waves in the nominations where you'll get a whole bunch of nominations especially for Truro Famous. And we have, in the past, seen competitions between our people who want to be the Truro Famous nominees. So it's neat to see that our businesses get behind the awards as well, and our local people, and say, hey, I want to win this, which again, we appreciate that too. It means something to you. And it's not just this random Michelle and Sam are doing that thing they do again. It's actually appreciated. We really, I think that makes it worthwhile for you and I, right?
It does. And I think for this year, just being able to still recognize some of the businesses, especially during kind of this crazy, fantastic season where we're all kind of trying to keep our heads above water. I think it's so much more important, almost in a way. And Cheyenne's back. It's so much more important to nominate people and local.
Exactly.
Yay!
It's okay.
I had to switch. Yeah, I had some technical difficulties. My my update just went on my Mac. So
no. Oh God. I've been there. I understand.
I didn't know that Macs were that cruel. I thought that was like a Windows thing.
No, apparently not. Sorry about that.
Oh, that's okay.
We were both so enthralled in your story. So we're hoping that you remember where you left off. I'm trying to think.
We were talking about
the history of the Jingle Dance.
Yep. We mentioned the story.
Well, maybe it will come back to us, because while you were logging back in, we were talking about how had we been able to have our local love awards in May, we were going to have the Iron Tides singers, and Patience Syllaboy was actually going to do a jingle dance in connection with them, and it was her husband Garrett who was kind of helping us to coordinate all of that. So was it Garrett that brought you to Truro, or did you meet Garrett while you were here?
It was Garrett.
It was. Okay. Awesome.
I definitely.
I shouldn't say Truro. I should say Millbrook, right?
Yeah. I definitely didn't think I would be out this way for sure. I thought I was gonna head out, not east anyways, more so like Montreal, Toronto areas where I was kind of, envisioning where I was going. But
yeah,
I met Garrett, and sometimes you do different things for love. So
that's right. You're looking at me too. I'm from Truro, and I never thought I'd move back here, but I'm here because my husband is here as well. So I can completely relate. But then you do make the most of where you are, and you create sort of the community and whatever it is that's around. So that's
absolutely. Awesome. I met a lot of great people. Sorry.
Oh no, that's okay. I was just going to ask if you have performed together before.
Like with Garrett?
Yeah.
Yep, I have. Sometimes he will, get requests of performing, drumming, singing, and dancing, and he'll ask me. And depending on my work schedule or how busy I am, sometimes I do participate. But most times I really like for the youth to get those opportunities, because sometimes I do get my own opportunities, without Garrett's help or anything. So I always try to let the youth kind of have that first. And, if not, I will, or sometimes if they can't, I'll step in and perform. And, I think it's really something like magical or beautiful when, my husband's, doing his thing with his, the group of boys, and then they're, I'm dancing, and there's some of the young ladies, like Patience has always been really close to me, and I've been really, helping her along her journey as a dancer, and I'm so proud of her and where she's at. So it's just really great things like that when we're done, we're just like, geez, like it's like a family, or a really great feeling to be able to do that.
Yeah,
it really does feel like there's so much support within Millbrook's community to like any time that, and I find there's lots of opportunities for that support. Like I find anytime that Iron Tide singers are performing somewhere, there's always a support group there as well, and I just really like that.
Yep, a lot of parents are really involved and super proud, and so it's really, really nice to see. Different communities, not everyone kind of, does this, and every community has a different way of doing things, right? So it's really nice to see that here. And the community I come from, I was at a younger age too. I was there trying to help young girls, and there is definitely a little troop of dancers there as well, but it's really cool to see, communities really want that for the, for the youth. And for me, like I said before, the best thing that came out of it was, being who I am, having that sense of pride, that cultural connection, my roots are all there to help me be more confident. And so I want that for, all the other young people that want to do this as well.
That's a really cool thing that you're doing, by the way, because, not everybody has that support system and that encouragement from somebody who has done it before, but also who has that experience to draw from. I think it's just amazing what you're doing to support the youth.
Thanks. And so I guess I'll say this to kind of add to that is both my partner and I, when we built our business, we have all those, those values, those kind of core values. And one of the things we'd like to see, our company accomplish someday is to highlight young people and their art and that don't have the opportunity. And then we have, a platform to be able to bring them on or feature them or collaborate with them. And also kind of, we're already doing things such as casting calls and searching models when we do our photo shoots. And we always, want to involve the young people. And if that's something that a young Indigenous person or a young person wants to do, they want to be a model, like we are definitely there, like, go and do it. Like it was challenging for me as a young person to kind of tell my family, like, I want to be a fashion designer, things like that. And they're just like, well, you should go to business school first. Like, but business school isn't, fashion design school. Like, I don't want to go to business school. I want to go to fashion design school. So I want that for young people to tell them, like, if you want to go and become a model and, go and do it. Like, your possibilities are endless. And in my experience, I don't think you'll ever be truly happy unless you do what you really want to do.
Oh man, that's true. That is so true. I'm still trying to figure that out, by the way, Cheyenne. So if you, as a 39-year-old, trying to figure that out. I do love, on your website, you can see all the photo shoots that you've done and the kids, and you've got kids clothing and adult clothing, and it does really cross the barrier, I guess, between kids and adults. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, we kind of want to make clothes for everybody, but also it's if you're not Mi'kmaq or Indigenous, we want you to wear it. We want you to feel comfortable in it. But also, if you're Mi'kmaq and Indigenous, we want you to feel that sense of pride as well. And there's not a lot of Indigenous fashion designers out there, so we want to set the precedent and go forward with, who we are as Indigenous people and the art the art and the creativity we have, and we want to put that out there in the world. So that's kind of where we're at with everything. And unfortunately right now we have been impacted by COVID. We've been closed for a little bit. We decided to stay closed for spring and summer because that's basically a season for anyone who's a designer. Spring and summer is like you prepare for that. So we thought, why not just hold out until September. And so we hope to relaunch in September, and we're going to go back into fall and winter.
Hopefully get to do spring, summer next year. Not hopefully. Do spring.
Yes, I hope so. I mean, we have so much plans and we were so excited, and, we were already envisioning the photo shoots and the amazing things we could do in the outdoors with spring and summer, and that kind of just came crashing down.
So hard. And I mean, I guess one thing that everybody's in the same boat, you know what I mean? There's something comforting in that on some weird level, but we're excited for your relaunch. That's for sure. Yeah, it's awesome. So you've been here for how long in Truro? How long have you called Millbrook home?
I've been here for, I want to say, a little over 4 years.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, it definitely was some time to adjust. I'm very close to my community and my family back home. I miss my community. I miss my family. I definitely miss the outdoors. We have a lot of scenery and mountains and waters right at our access. But I'm definitely more comfortable now than I was the first year away from home, and I'm starting to find, different places like the beaches nearby and things like that to kind of help me get through that, that missing of home. But people are great here, and I really love it. And I immerse myself in, the youth and try to do things like that. So I'm very happy to be here, and I hope to stay here for a while. And I think eventually we will someday move back home, but I do feel a sense of like, we were needed here and we were meant to be here for a reason, both Garrett and I. So
I love that. I believe in that too, that sort of the universe aligned, and there's a reason why you guys are here. And clearly there's a reason right now, and you're inspiring youth to follow in your footsteps and doing some really great things with your business as well. And I'm super happy to have you here and to have you. And I will definitely be looking for a t-shirt in the fall or whatever other things that you have up your sleeve.
Yeah.
And, you know, hopefully at some point we will be able to do a Local Love Live awards presentation, and maybe you and Patience both could dance for us, Cheyenne. Now that we know you, beware, because just ask your husband. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. That's a request, eh?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And just because this is what Truro people do you know Jose Bourgeois?
Yes, I do. Yep.
Awesome. We did the Vagina Monologues together. She performed in that with me years and years ago, and then we also did a one act play, but I was the one act and she was a dancer in it with me.
Wow.
Together a year later, and Patience actually was in the Vagina Monologues with us too. So,
yeah, I think she mentioned that not too long ago.
Yeah, I mean, she's been dancing since she was a kid too. Hey?
Yeah, very little. I love Patience. She's such a sweet, young lady. She actually graduated this year, and I'm just like in shock because when I first met her, she was just a young little girl, and now she's graduating, and I'm like, I hate to say it, but I feel old.
True, and I felt the same way because I sort of expected, because I haven't seen her since I did that show with her years ago, but then you sort of just expect that they're the same as they were when you and then I saw a picture that Steve Curry had posted when she was doing a dance recently. I can't remember where they were performing, and I was like, oh my God, she's an adult now. Crazy. Yeah. So do you want to ask Cheyenne our standard
question? So what we asked Cheyenne is, if you have somebody visiting, family, friend who hasn't been to Millbrook, Truro area before, where is your favorite place to show off the area? Like, I have to take somebody here, and it can be a business, it can be, park, whatever, but where do you go to show off Truro, or Truro and Millbrook both?
Well, firstly, I always say where my husband works, which will be the Heritage Center. Mm-hmm. So I always, say, if you're interested, go on up there. But my other kind of go-to for Truro would be Victoria Park.
Oh, yeah.
That's definitely, I definitely always bring family there. And sometimes it's kind of the cafes downtown, too. Those are always, novelty and stuff. We'll go there. But definitely Victoria Park is, my number one.
We're so lucky to have that park here. It's so amazing.
I love it. It's so strange. All of a sudden you're in the town of Truro, and then it's like you're in BC or something, when you're watching.
It's true. It doesn't feel like Nova Scotia really when you're in.
It doesn't.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Well, thank you again, and I'm so glad you were able to log back in, and we could finish our chat. It's nice to meet you, Cheyenne. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
And just so you know, Cheyenne, we have Local Love Truro Awards. We're going to be doing a virtual presentation in September, and tomorrow is the last time that you can put in nominations for your Truro favorites. There's 5 awards to nominate people for.
Okay.
So if you go to locallovetruro.ca, you can nominate people, and then we'll narrow it down to the top 5 in each category later on.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks, Diane.
See ya.
See you, and thank you. And thanks to everyone for watching as well. And we actually don't have anybody lined up for next week. However, we will be announcing tomorrow. Right?
Okay. Yes.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Are we?
We have somebody in the queue, so we're hoping.
Yes, somebody is in the. Yes, you have been in negotiations with this person.
Yes, so hopefully we will.
They are available for us, and it'll be fun. I think it'll be a really fun.
Yay! Awesome. So get your nominations in.
Yes.
It's the last day. locallovetruro.ca. Thanks everybody for watching, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.